Hey everyone, welcome to day 7 of our daily devotional. Today I'm talking from Matthew 7. It's the conclusion of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, which is Jesus' first public teaching or public sermon that we find in the Bible. So starting in chapter 5, Jesus begins with the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor and the meek and those who mourn and those who are persecuted. He talks about believers being the salt and the light unto the world. He talks about different guidelines regarding laws on adultery, murder, and divorce. He tells us to have love for our enemies, give to the needy, fast, how to pray. Tells us not to worry about tomorrow, but to store up treasures in heaven, to ask, seek, and knock in the ways that we pursue Him. And it's this incredible 3 chapters of teaching that we have from Jesus. And it concludes in verse 24, which is where I want to kind of start and talk about. So I'll read from verse 24. It says this: Therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rains came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Now, the reason I wanted to focus in on this last part of the Sermon on the Mount is because I feel like this is particularly relevant for what's going on in the world. As you guys know, currently there's just a lot of confusion, fear, and panic going around just the coronavirus and the COVID-19 pandemic. I think we're kind of seeing examples of a lot of foolish building. I think we're hearing a lot from different experts and researchers and doctors, even our own government, what they're telling us to do and how and what guidelines to follow is actually changing from week to week and from day to day, even hour to hour. And it's given just everyone over to a state of panic and confusion. This is what I feel like I'm seeing in the Bible as well. If you take the Word of God and you go through this thing and the Sermon on the Mount and you take all this teaching that Jesus gives and it only remains as information in your life, where it doesn't take root and doesn't change the way you live your life, you are like a foolish builder. And when things happen, when the pandemic hits, when coronavirus hits, it says, you have no foundation, and your house falls with a great crash. But those who hear the Word of God, and this information becomes transformation in their life, you are like the wise builder who's building his house upon a foundation of rock. So no matter what happens, no matter what epidemic or pandemic or wars or personal trials and tribulations hit, no matter what happens, your foundation is such that it will always remain, and it always remains strong. Now it's absolutely vital for all of us to follow the CDC guidelines on how to maintain our own health and safety during this time. But I want to encourage Holbrook Youth Group and anyone else who is listening. There's a higher wisdom, there's a higher authority that we need to follow. This current state of social distancing and self-quarantine is going to pass. But there's going to be so many more things that happen in our lives that are going to shake us to our core. So if we don't apply the words of God to our lives, if we don't allow it to become transformation in our lives, every time that something else hits, it's going to shake us and it's going to bring down our house. But when we put our hope and our trust into God, when we take His word as what it is, allows us to bring into new life into our everyday actions and our practices. When it becomes that transforming power, no matter what happens, when the rains fall and the streams rise and the winds blow, we will have a foundation that is strong. So I just want to encourage your youth group, encourage everyone else who's listening, put your hope, put your trust in God. He is the only one who will never fail us. He's the only one that was always faithful and that will never change. So hopefully you guys got something out of that today. hope you guys take care, be safe, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.